Welcome to session 2, and so week 2 or session 2, similar things. All right, so basically here we are. We have put the learning program up today, so we'll have a look at that. It's under start here, so we'll begin with that. So yes, here it is, learning schedule. So we'll just bring that up, have a look. All right, so we did all these last week. It's pretty big. There's some dates there. So today hopefully is, it's not the 6th, it is the 6th. Yeah, the 6th or the 8th. There's an error already. So that's fine. Now, so today we're gonna draw a few more lines. We're gonna do that exercise drawing A, which should teach us about drawing, obviously lines, but the correct distance, correct angle, and that sort of thing. And sort of a little more about selection methods of selecting objects. And then this is all still today. We're going to go on to object snaps and that sort of thing, and learn some other entities, how to create other objects such as circles and maybe polygons and things like that. So just a little hint there as to what we might do. Hopefully we'll finish all that off today. If not, we can always spill it into the next lot, and hopefully eventually it'll come out in the wash and do it all. But it's an indicative thing of what we're proposing to cover. All depends on the size of the class, and also depends on the questions we're faced on that day and problems we faced. Okay, so we have, so then week 4, and then week 5 is what you're interested in. We begin task 1, and with task, then we're going to do task 2. So we've got a couple of weeks of doing task 1, maybe 3. Then task 2 in week 8. And then it's all due in week 9. Right? In week 9, like we finish it in week 8, but it's due. So you've got that another sort of weekend to sort of finalize it, and then it's due on the at the end of the session on week 9 is task 1 and 2, which is incorporated onto a sheet, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. All right, so basically task 1 is your floor plan, all right, and task 2 is your roof framing plan, and then on that day when that's due, we're going to begin task 3, and then task 3 and 4 will be due in week 11. So this is week 9. Your first task is due in week 9, which is basically the last day of the term. All right. So then we have our classes there, and then we come back and do task 4, which is the slab and footing plan. This is one of the changes we've done from last semester. We just changed slightly the name of this. We added the word slab in front of it. So we'll amend the plans to reflect that, and we'll give you an example plan of all these, of what you need to achieve. And we'll work through it in the class, obviously, make sure you know what you're doing. So that's what. And then task 5 is actually 2 combined. It's a site plan and an eaves detail. So when we come back on sort of the second week, these slab footing plan, and what's the others? Task, electrical plan and footing plan are due on the second week at the end of the lesson. So that's week 11, second week back from the break. So that's week 11. And then we sort of begin our sheet 3, which will have task 5 on it, which includes 2 views. One is a site plan, and the other view is an eaves detail, which we give you the eaves detail as, would you believe, as an image file. And normally you wouldn't do it that way, but if we have a look at our, where is it? This thing here, the unit descriptor, you see that you have to know how to manipulate images and insert images into the drawing. So we thought we'd get around that by showing you how to do that. And it's not an easy task, because it's one thing to bring an image into a drawing, and it's another thing to get that image as close as possible to real size units, because it will come in as a postage stamp size, and I need to show you how to get it right, and then put it on a sheet to 1:10 scale. All right, so that's although it sounds like it's a bit of a pop out, I suppose. It is actually I'm lost. Not an easy thing to do. All right, so that's there. So then what we're going to do after that, so basically with these other little submissions here, when they're due, what you got to give us there, and there'll be further explanation, but what you got to give us there is the sheet AO1 as a PDF, but also we'll require your drawing file. So 2 files you need to submit every time. So because you need to just check that you use the right layer names, it's almost impossible depending how you, it's not impossible, but some layer information comes across with the PDF as well, depending how you've written your PDF, whether you use the internal AutoCAD PDF writer or an external one. So, but we like to have the two together. So that's what is due and what you need to submit there. All right, so they're the dates. Take note of those, and then yeah, here so task 5 we're getting 1 week on that, 2 weeks on that, 3 weeks, and then the third week we're also going to go through some additional stuff of obviously we're printing the PDF, but also how to purge and e-transmit. All right, which basically is how to export out all the files necessary of that project into a zip file, and also show you how to add additional files that have not been picked up automatically. All right. Meanwhile, with the site plan, we are going to use another method of bringing in the site plan. The site plan will be given to you, as in the site itself will be given to you, but we've still got some work on it. For example, we've got to put in the paths around the house. We've got to put in drainage, as in stormwater drainage, some notes. But what will be given to you will be the boundaries and the easement that's on that site. And why are we giving you that? Because it's not because we can't bother teaching you how to do it. It's because in real situation, real workflow, you would get that from the surveyor anyway. And we're also giving it to you in meters rather than millimeters, because most of the time the surveyor will give it to you like that, and then you got to sort out how to get it in millimeters. All right. So that's the reason why we're giving it to you. That's one reason. The other reason is so we can teach you something that is not really called for in the unit descriptor as such, but we are going to use that opportunity to teach you how to bring in another drawing using what's called an external reference method, rather than inserting it directly like a block would be, like a chair or a door or a window. It'll be brought in as an external reference. So we'll talk about that a little more, but it's a little more advanced method of inserting something. All right. So that's what's ahead, and it sounds really exciting to me, even though I've done it a million times. So it'll be exciting to learn something new and something a little more advanced in this very quick little course, actually. Anyway, so that's then all of that will be submitted. In this case, it will be submitted as a zip file, basically. That's what that e-transmit is going to create a zip file with all the files you have been working on, including the site plan which we've given you. But that's what e-transmit does. It collects everything that you might miss, puts it all together, and it's a package basically, and just gives it to you. Yeah, and that will include because you've been submitting to us sheet AO1 and AO2 already. You've submitted. You don't have to resubmit them again, but you will have to make sure you include, because if you don't make sure you include the PDF file, the sheet AO3, it won't put it in the zip file. So that's a good little test that you know how to actually go and find a file that's not included to include it into the zip file. Because e-transmit is an internal AutoCAD command, and he will only deal with what he knows about AutoCAD, and he knows that it needs to give you the drawing. It also needs to give you any drawings hanging off of that, like a LinkedIn, like external reference drawings, like the site plan. Also, the image file, it'll pick that up. And 9 out of 10 times, if a client tells you, "Give me the file," or a consultant, what most people will do is just give them the drawing file, forgetting that they should have given them the image file, forgetting they should have given them the site plan as well, because you just sort of forget they're there because you're seeing them, but they're not actually inside the drawing. They're not inserted. They're just sitting somewhere else on the hard disk. Okay. So anyway, so that's what we're testing there. And I think e-transmit is called, in fact, as part of the descriptor, so we have to cover that anyway. And purging. And then we have basically optional lectures if we run into trouble, just one here, and resubmission. So we'll start looking at them and perhaps sending things back for resubmissions in those last couple of weeks there. And then once everything is in and the last people have resubmitted, the marks will happen sometime after that, December or something like that. They go up, and you'll be getting, as we're marking them, probably be getting feedback. If your name starts with Z, you get it last. I don't know. So, no, no. In fact, there's no lectures even here. Well, probably, yeah, 19th. You're right, 19th included. Yes, possibly it'll be one on the 12th if we need one. Yeah, the rest are lost in space. Yeah, they're gone. Yeah. Any questions about that or any issues with that at all you can see at this point? Any conflicts with your holidays or anything like that? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly, yes. Yes, yes, that's right. Just those of you that didn't hear that, that was Robin speaking from a distance. Yes, it doesn't mean that, you can go on a holiday as long as you are available and you have your laptop ready with AutoCAD on there to do any changes, send them back to us. You don't have to be physically here, but be available to checking your emails and, making any changes. Otherwise, you'll end up either getting a fail or, you know, um, have to do something else. If we can't contact you to make the changes, then I don't know what else to do. Yeah. So that's fair. Is that okay or not? Yeah. We can change everything if you really don't like it. No, it's all good. All right. Excellent. So I will show you now what those drawings look like. They're not up on the learners yet. We do have to do some tweaking to some of them. We just found some little issues that we need to correct before they go up, so you're not going off a wrong sort of thing and duplicating all our wrongs. All right, so I'll show you what they look like here. They're still in semester 1. Okay, so they're in here. So this will be the first one, and if I click here, you can see that I just clicked this little button here on this was created using or it was using AutoCAD's PDF writer actually. So it does have some layer information here for us anyway. But this is the task 1 and 2, which is the floor plan and the roof framing plan. Excuse me. So yeah, look, I can see that's a problem there. See. So yeah, we've got to move text around. So I'll just try and get a little more perfect for you, so you have a good copy to go by later on. So as I said to you last semester, this was the first go at doing this sort of plans. Before that, it was a much more complex floor plan and much more information needed from you, which was really putting you under a lot of pressure and actually was not required anyway from the unit descriptor. So we thought we'd just stick to what you need to know, and this is what you need to know. It actually stipulates what you need to actually draw, and it says you have to do an electrical plan, for example, and a roof framing plan. It actually says that. So we're only doing floor plans, no elevations, no sections except for what I've given you that detail. Okay, um, so basically this is what you signed up for. So this is the electrical plan, and we think Robin might be taking that for that lecture that day. That'll be the last one, hopefully, maybe, or whoever. We'll see how we go. For now, we this is what roughly it's going to look like, and this one here will have some slight changes. The name will have the word slab in front of it as well. So it just basically means thickening this outline here and adding another recess here on this plan, which is the what is it called again? Come on, what's the name of it? Not the recess. What's it called? The set down, not the set down. The rebate, rebate, the rebate for where the bricks sit. And does everyone know what the word rebate means and what it looks like? Have you covered that anywhere in your courses yet? No. Some of you might have. Yeah, some haven't. Yeah. We'll tell you what it is when we come to it. I'll show you. All right. It's a little set down in the concrete footing. That's all. All right. All good. So that's that one. Um, and this is the site plan that we give you. And this is that. And you can see this is actually, see that? That's a JPEG. It's not very clear. Yeah. But at the scale, when you print it off, it's not too bad. It still teaches you all the required skills to be able to scale that up and get it to the right scale. This one here requires different skill to scale it up to 1 is to be, sorry, millimeters. This is totally different again. All right, all good. So any questions about those 3 sheets? The first sheet you hand in whenever week it was that. Second sheet again is submission number 2. And submission number 3 will be this one here with which will be included inside that e-transmit zip file. Okay, happy with that? All right. Okay, shall we move on? Any questions? All right. So that's what we're going to do. All right. So we don't need the schedule here anymore. I'm just going to move down to now the user interface. We had a question about the user interface, so I'm just going to bring this up. Some of you might have shifted around with your computers, so I'm just going to flash up what my user interface looks like and how to get your status bar buttons the same, hopefully. And then we can go on and, oh, I should have left a learning schedule there because I was going to cheat off it. So let's have a look at that. Learning schedule start here. So I'll bring it back up. All right, so basically down here, oh yeah, we're going to do that thing there, wasn't when we? Yes, and then we're going to go on and do that other stuff. Yes. All right, so I'll talk to you about that in a minute. I'll leave that there. All right, so here the other comes into this page, or it might come into this page. Once you're into this page here, I'll just close this. You have to just make I've got this. Let me just close this thing off because I'll show you how to bring that back up, hopefully halfway through the lesson. So I'll close up. This is the class I was doing last night. So if I just click on the 3 horizontal lines on the bottom right-hand corner of the status bar, it will bring up a list of things that I have ticked on and visible in the status bar down the bottom here. So you just have to make sure you replicate that. So I'll just call them out quickly. Coordinates, model space, grid, snap mode, infer constraints, dynamic input, ortho mode, polar tracking, skip a couple or one, object snap tracking, 2D object snap, line weight, skip transparency, selection cycling, then skip a few, 4 or 5, then go to all the annotation visibility, auto scale, annotation scale, workspace switching, and annotation monitor. So it's about 5 in a row there. Yes. And then what we're going to do is make, if your command line is not docked like this, we'll get you to dock it. And basically that's it. Um, you're talking about in the options? Yeah. Yes, you can. You can save a new profile in that if you know what that is. Yes. You should be able to export the profile out and import it at home. Let me know how you go. it's uh, it's exported out as an .arg file. Don't ask me what it is. An ARG file. All right. So you can. We haven't really talked about it last week, I don't think, but you can click down here where the little cog is and save current as, and save it as like your initial, and then that'll save most of that for you. If you change anything, you need to go back and do save as again. But not important, not important to do that. Now, if you have moved and your command line is sitting lonely in the middle there, you just need to pick it up from the left-hand side, left click, and move it up a bit, then move it down onto that. Keep going down until it gives you that outline. Then lift your finger off the button of the mouse and just let go and drop there. And then you can actually make it bigger and smaller, or bigger, about that much. Oh, and that's it. And the crosshair, I've got a full because that's what I did last week, and that's under the big A here, options. There's a little button down the bottom there, options, and under the display tab, we've got 100% here. That's all I did. Um, what Peter was talking about before, exporting your profile is under profiles here, and you can go export like this, and it exports it out as an ARG file. And then when you go home, you can import, but there's not big changes that we've done, so really you could probably replicate that in quicker time than importing and exporting. So that's optional for those, and that's only come up because it was mentioned. But normally I wouldn't talk to you about that. It's customizing too much for this course. All right, so that's that. Okay, thank you. We now will move on to do that first exercise. So under here, if we go back to our Learn site, we're going to go to practice exercises. And we're going to go to AutoCAD, where we practice here, sorry, here, coordinates. Download coordinates, or download it, or you can just click it. Sort of downloads it at the same time. Here like this, and we'll do that exercise. Now, quick quiz for you. Who can tell me what the middle mouse button does, or the scroller? It does three things. Anyone know? Tell her. Zoom. What? Try another one. Yes? What are you getting? What? Someone else. Pen. Excellent. Yes. Scroll. Scroll. Oh, sorry. Really. Lovely. All right. So, it scrolls, which basically does a zoom. It's the same thing when you scroll, it zooms. Yes. All right. So, three things it does. Yes. Zoom, extends, pan, and what was it again? Pan, zoom, extends, and zoom. That's right. Yeah. So now it does a fourth thing as well, and I wanted to talk to you about the fourth thing. Um, okay. So let me just draw a couple of lines for that, and I'll show you what the fourth thing is. Now, I'm showing you this because you will probably do it at the time when I'm not around, and you'll be thinking, how do I get back? And the fourth thing it does, if you accidentally have had your finger on the shift key, and then you went to pan with holding down the scroller, this will happen. So you're into 3D mode, and then you'll be wondering how to get to 2D, right? All right, so I'm not showing you that because I want you to go into, that's a bit like Revit works, those of you that are doing Revit. But, so what we need to do is learn how to get back. So usually if you've got this thing here, the view cube, you can click on the top of it and it should take us back. So that's where you want to be, all right? All right, erase that. All right, so let's, we did a mess of stuff last week, didn't we? We did some messy drawing, the lines everywhere. I'm going to begin with the exercise drawing A, and then we're going to learn how to draw accurately, of course, with that. And then once we finish that, I'll go into the next step and cover as much as possible with that. Talk to you about object snaps and things like that, and how to select different methods of selecting. Again, we did touch on it last week. But all right, so let's go to that now. So this here is basically the first few pages are the same for every one of these exercises. Reminds you how to start a drawing, how to to save it, name it, keep a backup copy here, right? So we talked about that last week. I don't want to be talking about it every week. All right, so creating layers, we're not going to, all right? Okay, so even though it's called layers and coordinates, we're not going to create layers because we're going to do plenty of that a bit later. All right, so drawing lines, yep, absolute coordinates, that's what we're going to learn today. It tells you what your status bar should look like. Mine will look a little bit different. I think I will probably still keep this thing on here, the object snap. All right, so going down, here, this tells you how to start, but we're going to go through it in class together. So what we are going to cover today is absolute coordinates, relative polar coordinates, and relative Cartesian coordinates. All right. So absolute coordinates, basically giving it an x and y location, a bit like perhaps even a GPS location of a particular point on the world. Effectively, that's what it is, the x and y, and GPS location will also have a z, an elevation, how high you're up off the sea level. We're not dealing with 3D here, so only having two, the x and the y. So the z is always assumed to be 0, so don't put it in. Relative polar coordinates would be something like we're going to give you a distance and an angle to travel, so we'll cover that. Relative Cartesian coordinates is basically an x and a y, but not relative to the world 0, 0 as such, but relative to where your last point was created. So from the last spot that you drew last time, that's relative from there. So I'll explain that a little more. But that's basically the three things we're going to learn, along with a couple of other things. We're actually going to combine a little bit of drawing B into drawing A. And drawing B, I'll show you what that looks like. This guy here is also good. This shows us, while I'm scrolling down, this one here shows us how angles are measured in AutoCAD in the default drawing that we opened up. So 0 is at the 3 o'clock analog clock position. All right, and it doesn't go clockwise, which is this way. It goes anti-clockwise as positive angles. You can go clockwise, but there can be negative angles. So, for example, positive 45 is there, and negative 45 is here, which is exactly the same thing as a 315. How many degrees in a circle? Who knows? 360. Yeah, 360. So, so that 0 is the same as 360, and so if you're going all the way around, that's 360. If you went up to there, that's 315, but it's also 45 going this way, so it's minus 45. So just if you just express it as with a negative 45 if you wanted to. We're going to do some of that in a minute. All right, so that's that. Remember that. We'll cover it probably in a minute. All right, so this is exercise A, but exercise B is this. So exercise B gets you to draw horizontal and vertical lines all the time. And if you notice, there's some horizontal and vertical lines in here as well. So where we have to draw those, I'm going to actually draw them using this method in here. It saves us a bit of time. As I said, these things here are more for you to practice afterwards and re-practice if you need it. In the class, we're not going to have enough time to do all that, and because we're just racing to get to start drawing something real floor plan in week 5. And there you're going to learn a lot more on the job as such than abstract stuff. All right, and we are going to create some layers in there as well. Yeah. So here we go. And the layers that we had to create here is because the way this thing is teaching you, and I'm saying create the layers if you're going to start this thing from top to finish at home to practice. Follow it step by step. It's just here we're not doing it that way. And they're knitting the layers in here if you do the whole exercise because they're actually drawing the 3 different exercises on top of each other, and the only way to be able to see them individually is to turn off one and turn on the other sort of thing. But I'd rather just cover layers later on. Okay, so all right, so let's just go here. All right, I'm going to cover layers in the context of your floor plan, basically. All right, so that's it. All right, so here it says here, start here, absolute coordinate position 7338. So that's one of the 3 things we're going to cover, absolute coordinates. And they're coordinates that are measured from the 0, 0 location of your AutoCAD drawing. Right? So that every AutoCAD drawing you open up has a 0, 0 origin by default. And that's it there, where that X and Y is. All right? Can't see the Z because it's coming at you. All right, but that's there. Remember when I did this? There's a Z. It comes up when you go into that 3D mode. Yes. Here, so if you turned on that top one, you'll have coordinates here, so you'll be able to see them as you're moving. So now, you can see mine moving down the bottom there, so I'm moving along. So there they are, and the Z is always 0. If they're not moving, it's because you need to click in it. If you click in it, it turns it on and off. It also changes it so it shows distance and angle. If I draw a line to indicate that, click the line command. See now it's showing distance and angle I'm going in mine. If I click it again, it's showing X and Y. If I click it again, it should go off. Oh, no, it didn't go off. I'm in the line. If I'm in the line command, it doesn't go off. Yeah, polar coordinates is when it's got the angle. It's not working. Here you go. Yeah, it's working now. All right. So, all right. So that's the story then. Okay. All right. So let's begin this. Okay. So just make sure. It says I've got the grid on. I can't see it. Oh, here it's coming up. Sorry, because I zoomed right in. Grid. So just turn off the grid anyway, and turn off. And make sure just leave your object snaps on, but just make sure those of you that have moved computers, just make sure you've got midpoint on, endpoint, intersection, extension, and perpendicular. So they're the 5 things I've got on. Just so we are talking the same language, I suppose. Everyone's the same on the same page. All right, so that's that. Now, relative coordinates. Okay, let's do that. It means coordinates that are measured from 0, 0. So basically, what does begin a line from 73, comma, that's a comma, not a dot. That's a comma there. Begin a line from 73, comma 38. All right. So what does that mean to you? 73 is the X and 38 is the Y. show you. It means 73 steps away from here in the positive direction, which is to the right. Okay. And also means then it's 38 in the Y. It means go up 38. So basically, you go across 73, and then you go up 38, and that's where you got to start your line from. All right. So I'm looking at my coordinates down here, and and they say something like 210, 76. So I wasn't even looking at that, but that's not how you're going to do it. I mean, you could try and read the coordinates and go 73, but you're never going to get it right. Okay, so don't even try. So we're going to type it in basically, right? Now, you have guaranteed success of that going to the right coordinate if you have turned off dynamic input, right? Right. So it will normally be okay if you've just opened the drawing, came in, did nothing else. But I already have drawn a couple of lines. So I think what it's going to do is just, if I got dynamic input on, it'll assume, even though I type in 73,38, it will assume to go 73 steps to the right and 38 up from the last location where I clicked. And that was somewhere in here. So that would be wrong if I started that way. So absolute coordinates means it has to be absolutely right. So we've got to turn off that dynamic input, because that assumes what I just said. It assumes relative coordinates from the last location I clicked. So now, after the first bit of inputting the first initial location of that vertex, the first vertex of that line, the first point, we can turn that back on. And then we have a heads-up display, and we'll be able to see better what's going on. So let's go with clicking the line command here, and just type in, do not click anywhere, you don't even have to move, just leave it somewhere, and go, was it 73, 38? 73, 38. All right. So I just type that in, and it's coming up in my command line down the bottom there. All right. So what's the golden rule about typing something in? Correct. Press enter. So now we're going to press enter. And there it is. It began the line from there. It's a rubber banding now. And then we just got to draw a line straight across after that. All right. Now turn on this dynamic input now. We got the first point, so from here on, we can turn it on, and that's going to help us anyway. All right, so now we've got to draw a line that goes 250 to the right. Possibly, yes, you can, but you've got to make sure you're horizontal. How are we going to make sure we're horizontal? Does anyone know? Zero, sorry? What did you say, sorry? Yeah. Zero, yeah. Yeah. So you get it to zero, yeah. But yeah, auto mode. There's actually 3 different ways you can do that. So what was your? Did you say something? What was your? Yeah. Oh yeah, on the up here. Yeah. So how do you do that? Tab? Did you tab? Did you? Yeah. So you can make that 0, perhaps. Yeah. That's wonderful. But is it absolutely horizontal? Are you sure it is horizontal? You can't be sure. Unless you got the ortho mode on, it's never going to be 100%. Well, it's coming up. This one here. Yeah, so that's ortho. So that locks it into vertical and horizontal. So if you have already done something, like you guessed it, like this, and typed in 250, and it might not be, although it looks all right there now, it might not be exactly, I probably fluked it, but anyway, it'll be the first time. That is 250 long, but it might be 0.3 degrees out, all right? So if you've done that already, I suggest you click here where it says undo down the bottom here. Do not escape, just undo, and it will take you back to that 73,38. All right. So then you get the opportunity to do it correctly. Eh? So yeah, we lock in the ortho mode, which is incidentally F8 on your function key if you want to toggle it on and off using function keys. All right, so basically, yes, lock it in, type in 250, go that general direction, yes, type in 250 and press enter. That's it. So that's now now we've done that line there. Did it work? Oh, someone ringing a few times. Sorry? Oh, sorry. I thought I stopped it. Thank you. Apologies, it's still recording. All right. Is it just that and then the phone rang? Or was it? I don't know. Anyway, there'll be a long thing in between. Okay. Um, thank you. We can't do much better now. All right. So I think what we need to do is, oh yeah, I had a few questions in between. So I just want to tell everyone at home about that as well. Okay, so let me just escape that and get out. You don't have to escape. You just stay where you are. But if you did, it doesn't matter. All right. So basically, I noticed that someone's UCS looked. I'm not sure how they did it, but they didn't have that square in the middle there, so they had something special going on. So if that's the case, as I said, you go to the top here, but if you don't get the square up there, just type in UCS enter, then W for world, and then it'll make it look like that. The other thing is we noticed these numbers here. They were really big. They're exponential numbers. I don't know how they did it, but they went into. There you go. If you look at my coordinates here, they've got exponential numbers. So when they drew the 73,38, it didn't matter how much you zoomed in, it just never will show up easily. So if you ever want to get back to how where the drawing view was when you first open the drawing, type in this Z for zoom enter. As an option of that is A for all, or you can click all here. And it brings those numbers to much more sensible numbers down the bottom here. Z enter, A enter. All right. So UCS, the first one is UCS enter, W enter for world. And then the next one you do, if your numbers are all over the place, Z enter, A enter. And there was another one, yeah, and I was just also asked, which I did cover earlier, how to get the crosshair to be 100%, and that's under the big A, and then we go options, and then we go this one here under the display tab, make this crosshair 100%, and then you get that 100%. So if you just reiterating on that one. Okay, so I stopped all that just to show you. And so now I'll show you how to begin. If you ever stopped your line for some reason, you can begin it from the end of that. And that's why I got you to leave this snap cursor on, even though I think the instructions say to turn it off. All right, so if I go line now, I can move to here, and that will show me that it's snapping to the endpoint. So I don't have to be right on the endpoint. I can be just a little bit further in and still picking up the endpoint. So if I click there, I don't have to go to the endpoint. I can just click there, and it goes to the point there. All right. So now I'm getting all these, because I got my dynamic input. I'm getting all this stuff happening here. I can see how far I'm traveling. I can see the angle I'm traveling, and because I got objects, I got this ortho on. I'm not rubber banding. But if I turned ortho off, F8 or just clicking it, now you can see something else. If you can see here under this here, the next line I'm going to do is actually it's 45 degrees, right? However, it doesn't say 45 degrees here. It says it's 135 internal angle. All right. Why did I say it's 45 degrees then? From zero. 180. Yeah. So that's right. You're both saying the same thing. It's from zero. It's 45 measured from zero. It's the same thing as 135. Now, if a straight line mathematically has 180 degrees, all right. So if I imagine that this line was continuing along here horizontally, that would be all up. If that angle there would have been 180. So they told me this is 135. So simple math: 180 minus 135 is 45. Why do I need to know 45 and not 135? Right? Because where's that? Start? Yes, and they're always measured, as I said before, from the field clock position. All right. So I need to know that number and not the 135 number. Yeah. So that's the one I need to know. So if I come over here now, and if I was to see if I'm moving this up, it says like 35, 47, whatever degrees there, right? It's measuring them, as I said before, yes, from the 3 o'clock position. So that 135 they gave us was absolutely useless for constructing the drawing. It was helpful because we know a bit of maths, but hopefully that's the limit of the maths we ever have to do in CAD. All right, just a bit of subtraction. All right, so basically now this is handy to know how this works. So now I can do a couple of things. I can input this thing here now because I have got this heads-up display just basically into those, just like filling a form. At the moment, the blue text there, or the blue background text, is how far I'm going to go, and that number is 60. So I can just type in 60, and I can tab across and change that. It's already shortened it to 60, and now I can change that angle, because the blue one now is the angle. Change it to 45, and I've done that. Now that is the modern way of doing that. There is an archaic way of doing that as well, which is the original AutoCAD way of doing that, without the heads-up display. So if you didn't have this dynamic input, which is what I call the heads-up display, you have to put in a formula. All right, so it's handy to know the formula as well. Have we got any more of those to do? We don't have some coming up here, but while we're here, I'll show you how you would do that the old way, the other way as well. All right. So if you don't have the heads-up display, I'm just going to undo that line, and I'll show you a formula that just stick to it basically. So undo this one line. I didn't escape. I just undid one segment of that line. Okay, I'm still hooked onto that. So the other way of doing it will be this. In those of you that are taking notes, you can write this formula here down. Shift key @ sign. All right. So that tells AutoCAD measured from where I clicked last. travel, or where I'm standing now, which is basically down here, I'm standing here, travel 60. All right, so then I go 60, and then at the direction of 45 degrees. So then I go shift key and the comma, which is gives me the less than sign, and I put in 45. Enter. Now, if you have a look down here, this is what it actually put in. I copy that. This is what it put in. Put it in here so I can blow it up a bit. This is the formula. So that is broken down at, from where I'm standing now, travel 60. That's the distance. That's the angle symbol telling AutoCAD that it's going to receive an angle next, and the angle is 45 in this instance. So if you use the same formula and just change the numbers every time, then you'll be right. What would happen if I replace the 60 with a comma? Relative coordinates, excellent, yes. Relative is being the key. So if I take this out, it becomes absolute coordinate. Okay, so be careful when you're putting what where, all right, to achieve what you want to achieve. Okay, so we're going to cover that, but that's the formula for putting polar coordinates in, which is the angles basically, distance and angle, all right? So the first one distance, next one is angle. All right, so leave that there for now. So that's how I created that one. Now what's the next one? Now the next one is interesting. The next one is straight up. So how are we going to do that? Right angle symbol in, which is the ortho mode. Okay, sorry, F8, yes, even better, yeah. So F8, I was told, so press F8, yes, it locks it in. So we can head up and type in 75. Enter. All right. This is going to take a while to draw. I've got all day. All right, but you're actually going to learn a whole lot of stuff in here, very basic stuff. And then after that, be hopefully a piece of cake. All right, so I'm taking probably 3 times longer to draw this than I would have normally, but I'm doing it 3 different ways for you. All right, so can someone then, based on what I said before, let me just pause this and I'll come back. Everyone. All right, so continuing on after a short little break. Okay, so from what we know so far, and I'm going to undo this line myself, and just so see if we can see something. If I go undo, from what we know so far, and I've got that up there now for a reason. How else can we draw that 75? Was it line up? How else can we draw that without using this method of using the ortho on and then pointing up? Yes, that will work. That will work. Yes, that's one way. Okay, so yeah, because what we're saying is, well, at the moment it's logged into that, but if it was not logged into it, yes, it's like this. Yeah, I could type 75, and then I go tab, and it goes into the degree section, and I go 90. Same thing. I wasn't actually thinking of that, but yes, you can. Yes. Yes, let's do the add thing. I like that idea. How can we do the add thing? Right, so far we did, yeah, go on. 75, yes. No, almost. You go on, keep going, you might get the answer. Yeah, no, 2 syllables and then 90, yes, that's right, yes. So that's excellent. That's one way. There's another way. You wait. So you go shift at, and we'll go 75, you said. So we're back to this system here. In this case, it's 75, that one. and then you said 90, just because it's 3 o'clock is 0, 12 o'clock is 90. So then I just go angle 90, enter. Same result. So far, we have three ways. One is going straight up, go 75. The other one is filling the form, which is 75, tap, go 90, and the at sign 75, angle 90. What's the fourth? I think it was a three or four. I lost count. Fourth way, maybe? Oh, you got an answer? Yes, yes, perfect. Okay. So the other answer was, if I undo this, is shift at, so relative from where we're standing now. We're going to give it 0 for the x coordinate. So we're not going anywhere to the left or the right. Left or the right. Okay. And then we're going to go comma to give it the y coordinate. But we are going to go 75 steps up. So go. I put the at already, so it's ready to get the y1 now. The y1 is 0, comma, not the angle, 75. Same thing. Wow. So that's amazing. Way too much. So what we did there then, we went at 0 in the x, comma, 75. That's what we did then. All right. So that's fun. All right. So now you've got all the information in front of you now. Three or four different ways of doing everything on this particular shape. So let's have a look at the next one, because you're going to give me the answer for the next one. Yeah, no Pythagoras, right? What are we going to do with this one? You choose. What method do you want to use? Okay, so this one here, we don't have much of a choice in a way, because we can't do the ortho here because it's on an angle, clearly. But we have the options of the form, filling in the form, because I don't know what the actual name of that is. Let's go filling in the form. Yeah, so let's have a look at that. Yes, we can. So we can do the x and the y thing. We cannot do the angle thing because there's no angle there. So for you to use the angle option, you have to do some maths to work out what the hypotenuse is of that triangle. And we don't want to do that. So we've only got a couple of options, right? So let's go at 60. So in this case, we always read the x first. It's 50 now. We're standing here, don't forget, and it's 50. So where we're standing, we've got to walk 50 steps to the left, and then we've got to walk 60 steps up. How would we put that in if we weren't filling in the form? Well, we're going to fill in the form is the same thing, similar thing. So if we're to fill in the form, we said we're going to go 50 to the left, but hold on, the form we can. A form is yeah, we've got to put in the minus 50, yes, 50, and then I know it wants an angle, but if you click on the you have to actually click on the comma, and then it's ready to, yeah, it's minus 50, comma, come back, and then you're going 60 up. Am I right? Sorry, 80. Oh no, it's 60. Now 80 is for this other line. 60. This one here. This 80 is for this line here. Yeah. So it's that 60. Yeah, 60. No, I lost 60. Okay, so that's it there. That's filling in the form option. But if I undo it, if we didn't have the dynamic input on, or even if we do, we can still go at sign minus 50, comma 60. Enter. So that one is at sign minus 50, comma 60. So that gets you there. All right. So now we should be able to fly through this with all the options we have. But the next 1, 2, 3 are quite simple. I'm just going to go very quickly with the next 1, 2, 3. 80, 50, and 180. So I'm going to go lock in my ortho now because I'm tired of doing it the long way. And I'm going to go 80, 50, 180. 80, enter. So as long as you go in the right direction, which I don't think I did. Let me just see what I did there. Didn't actually do anything. Let's try again. 80. Maybe my number lock is off. Yes. 80. Okay. 80. Yep. 50. Enter. And 180. Enter. How about that? All right. So then we get to this here. All right. So I'm up to this here where I'm going to put in this 50 going down. But we've got an angle here of 135, which is measured from the horizontal or the 3 o'clock position. But unfortunately, it's measured negatively, not positive. Right? So how are we going to do that? Yes, exactly. Yeah. 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 That's so true. Yeah. So yes, if you're using this, I just take off the ortho for a minute. If you're using this form, it's somehow it somehow switches from when you get to about 180. It's always stays in positive. It's counting. I'll start from here and it goes. Oh, you can't see it. 56, 90, whatever, 180. Then it flips 172. So it's always positive if you're filling in the form. Yeah. If you weren't filling in the form and you use that at system, you have to put negative. Yes. So that's 50 travel. So I'm not going to fill in the form. I'm going to go at 50 angle symbol minus 135, and that is exactly the same thing as filling in the form. All right, so then it's just straight down. All right. How would we express straight down if we were to put it in with, for example, just Artesian coordinates, x and y? So we'll go, yeah, but no, if we're putting x and a y, so I need two numbers. How would it go down 35? Just think about it. We're here, we go down 0 in the x, yes, minus 35, comma, minus 35, yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Say yes. You got to put the at sign in front of it, preferably, just for good measure. Oh, thanks. Yeah. Just for good measure, you put in the at sign in front of it. Why did I say just for good measure? Oh, because I can't tab. I said for good measure because just in case this thing is off and you haven't realized, at least you put the at sign in front of it. Let me show you what happens if I don't do that. Right? I'll take that off and I'm just going to put in what we just said, which was 0 in the x and minus 35. All right, so I'll go 0, comma, minus 35. All right, enter. Look where it went. It went relative to the origin. It went directly 35 millimeters below 0. That's why it's important to put that at sign just to make sure. Now I'm going to undo that bit, just clicking on the undo here. And I'm going to do it properly by going at 0 in the x, comma, minus 35 in the y. There it is. Vast difference. Right? You know how to control it, at least. All right? Right. All right? Anyway, I'll put the ortho back on now. I can or I don't have to if I don't want to put the dynamic input. It's up to me. but if I put it on, you can see it on the screen. All right, so the next one is 110, so I'm just going to point 110. Really, at the end of the day, 90% of our work at least is done by just using the ortho stuff, depending, well, obviously you're in building design area, but you know, if you're doing something else, it might not apply because you're not doing straight lines all the time. All right, so 110. This one here is 35, so it's basically 70. So at 70, angle is 35 as they're giving it to us because it's measured from the 0. There it is. And then we're going across 100. I'm just taking off a bit now doing it because some of you might have finished it. And ooh, then we go 130 down. Okay, and then we're going to go across 50. So these are easy. All right. So who is not up to that position? I'll wait for you to get to that position, which is basically up to here. This is all I've done. All right. You know, no, we'll just wait. So the question was from the audience, who shall remain nameless. What happens? This is actually a very good question and a good lesson. So let's all learn from that. I had another student do that last night, and the answer was still no. All right. So if you accidentally, for example, escaped out of this, and then you did undo. Yes, yes. Everything goes. I've got one line left, right? And I'm a professional, right? Okay, I'll get it back hopefully. But yeah, only hope. So I've got one line left. If I do undo again, I'll lose that line as well. That's because I started the line command twice. That's why I say when you're doing lines, if you make a mistake in your line, just click the little undo on the bottom. So it just undoes 1 or 2 steps back. Now that I've undone the whole thing like this, you might notice that my redo is active up here. So I can press redo. If, however, I panicked, I was like, oh no, it's all gone. Let me zoom around and see if I can find it. You can't redo because you can do one redo, but all you're going to redo is a zoom that you did, just one zoom. So you need to, immediately when you realize you made that mistake, press redo straight away without zooming or anything. Just do the redo. You can get lots of undos, get one redo. But do not zoom around. So if I click here now, it comes back. All right, saved. All right, so yeah. Yes, yes, exactly. You want to undo to the first undo will undo up to the last where you last escaped, which is for me. I escaped when I first do that line. That's why that line remained. If I did one more undo, it would do another lot of sequence of lines. You know, all right. Okay. So we had one situation here, guys. That let me just begin my line again because I stopped it just to demonstrate something. So I'll begin from here again. Now we had a situation where apparently the cursor is skipping. So if I just take that off, see mine is quite smooth. I can zoom in a bit here and you can see that I can move along well. If this here, these little dots here are on, snap, it's possible that, see, it's just jumping a bit everywhere, like it's locking in at every probably 10 millimeters or something, whatever this program did. So now, some of these things we got them here because we need them. Some of these things we got them here because we don't need them. But because they're on there, sometimes you might click on them accidentally and then you wish you didn't have them there. So just take it off. And then it works smoothly after that. All right, so this one here is 155. Again, 180 minus 155 is 25, and the distance is 80. So we're going to go, hey, let's put it in the form. It's easy, eh? Let's go 80, and then tab across, and we got 25. How easy is that? AutoCAD didn't used to be like that in 1988. All right. Okay. So some of you didn't used to be here in 1988. All right. So let's go. Then we're going to go at this one here. We're going to just go at 53 along the X, and then we go down 53. So comma minus 53. Enter. So there it is. Now, there's how do we finish this off? This is the question. Yes. The eyes gone blank. that was the build up to the surprise of how do we finish it off. All right. So the big finale. So how do we finish it off? Okay. No, sorry. The green. Oh, the green box. Okay. Yes, that will latch on to the beginning. Correct. But yes. If we're to do that, that's great. But if we made a mistake along the way, for example, if we made this line instead of 180, we made this line 190 accidentally, we probably wouldn't notice if we just finished it off that was a little bit wider there, right? So we've got to build some self-checks in here a little bit as well. So the other way will be to type in C for close, which is, or click on close, but that's not any better. Is it any better? Is it any better? Well, actually, all three of them, you're never going to know unless you actually check with your distance. But what I would do here, and I'll show you the distance command in a minute, what you need to do is actually eventually put dimensions on, of course, and then you see if they're all okay, or check them all individually. And I'll talk to you about the checking in a minute. But the trick is to, once you put that line in, you need to check as well that it's long enough, because I suppose if this was longer and you did all this, that would be thrown 10 millimeters that way. So if you measure that line, it won't be 139. It'll be something less probably, or depending. So we need to do some checks afterwards. What I would do here, because I can't do close, because if I do close now, it'll go back to here, because that's where I last stopped everything and restarted everything. So yours will be different perhaps. If you went all the way around without stopping, it'll come back to here, which is great. But what I would like to do, just to give us one more last practice of putting in an absolute coordinate, is to turn off this dynamic input and type in that coordinate. It'll take you back there as well. So this is 3 different ways. None of them are wrong. You can go to the endpoint. You could see for close if you went all the way around, or type in 7338. But turn off that dynamic input. So 73, 38 we said. Enter. That should go right back there. Should be absolutely accurate where we began from. All right. Enter to finish. Now we're going to check the last dimension, see if it actually worked. So if I go measure now, it's in the home tab there, measure, and I click on the endpoint of that, and to the endpoint of that. All right. Now, how do you read this stuff? Because I haven't got my dynamic input on, it's not giving me the information on the heads-up screen. So it's giving it to me down here in the command line. And that's another reason why I said make that command line a few lines deep. So how do we read it? Well, the distance along that angle there is 138.51 or 7. Right? That doesn't sound correct. It says that the X travel, in other words, I started from here and I went up there. The X travel, I went along here, went 129.9163, and I went up 48 millimeters apparently. Who cares? I don't actually care about that number. I care about the first number, which is 138. If we do the same thing for this one here, for example, I'll talk to you about that number in a minute. This one here and this one here, we actually, it's giving us that's 74.95. So what? We don't have that number there. We can't check. But it is giving us 53 and 53, the X and the Y, minus 53, sorry, which is exactly what they are. and that's useful to read, all right, in that situation. But in this situation here, we need to know that number. Now, it's 139. So what do we think the problem is? Is it right or wrong? Something's wrong. Or correct, something is wrong, yes. But has everyone got 138 point? Can you just check for me? 112. Mine says 138.5. So 138.51? 138.61. It should all be 138.51, I think, unless you've drawn one line a bit longer somewhere. So this is where now, those of you that it's not 138.51, you've got to go through and check from the beginning, or where you think there might problem be, and say, okay, is that 250? Yes. Is that there? So you just keep checking. That's 60, yes. Is the right angle though? Who knows? Yes, it's 45. A plane is 45. So, all right, so you worked out what your problem is. Let's have a look. Yes, when you're saving, it should come out 2018, I reckon. If I go File, Save As to start off with, you can see here that there's no 2019 because, and if you can go down a bit, the next one is 2013. That's because with every release of AutoCAD, it's not like every release of Revit. AutoCAD uses the same format for about 3 or 4, usually 3, but last time was 4 or 5 of them, versions. So 2020 even perhaps, I don't know, might be the same as 2018. Yeah. Yeah, it's out, but I haven't opened it up to see what it saves as. I don't think they changed it. It'll probably be 2018 format. So yes, although it's saving 2018, it's you're not using 2018 anyway. So that's normal. All right. So those of you that just to finish this off, I'll come with the software. Just to finish this off, those of you that have got some problems, I'm going to demonstrate to you how to fix it, but not now. When we do a stretch command, we'll perhaps save this drawing and we'll come back to it. And those of you that have got it right, you don't have to worry about it. But those of you that have got it right, we can maybe mess it up and then get it back to how it was. And I'll show you how to use the stretch command to fix some of these errors that you might have. Now, that 138 point whatever it was, just to finish that off, 139 it says there. Mine is actually correct, I'm hoping. But when you dimension this thing here, what they used here is dimension style that rounds up to the nearest millimeter. All right. So the measure command, the distance command will give you the more accurate size of what that is than the dimension command would. And that's why that's rounding up to 139, nearest millimeter. And if you have a look down here in our AutoCAD, it's in our coordinates down here is to the 4 decimal points. We can actually change units to work to 0 decimal points, and in which case when we're measuring, it'll give us the same answer as the dimension command would. But it's best not to, because you want to know more accuracy when using the distance command. All right, so this took a little longer than I expected, but I think it was a very valuable lesson to learn today, because it's really laying down the foundations about how to draw accurately. But there's another way of drawing accurately, and that's using, obviously, having the right object snaps and that sort of thing as well. Yeah, but inputting information or data in there, this is the way to do it. Now, if I go back here, just checking on our learning program here. Today we are second week, and we did this exercise here. But then I said I will talk about selecting objects as well, and then we're going to do all this stuff here, which we haven't done. Okay. So let's go into here. So selecting. Last week I said I did talk about selecting, which was basically clicking here and clicking there, clicking here and letting go and going along here. For example, this is what's wholly in the window. Have we done that last week? We talked about how to select like that, no? Yes? Yeah, exactly. So that's easy. And then from the right to left, it gives us the green window, so it's whatever is touching, all right? And we talked about shift key and how to deselect. Yeah, and deselect with crossing window, all right? Having the shift key down. Another way would be to click, hold, and do the lasso method this way. Also, you can do it from this other way, so it's a green version, so whatever it touches gets. Another way would be to click this the space bar, and it gives you like a space bar, gives you a line. So whatever that line touches, you'll get right. So click, hold, and not that a lot of people use this, but space bar a couple of times maybe. It just whatever that touches, it'll grab. Right? So that's just some very quick selection methods. Not that you're going to use them all, but that's the fence basically. Um, the names are here. Here. So we used window. The first one was window. Then it was crossing window. Then a fence or lasso fence. I didn't use fence at all actually. We used lasso window, lasso crossing window, and lasso fence. The fence one, you can't really use an actual fence one. It's only if you issue a command first. We're not going to use that, so don't worry about that. So now, what's the other thing? Yeah, we're going to just skip to drawing, learning how to draw a couple of other things, and maybe up to about here, and then we'll call it for today, and then we'll do the other bits next week, okay? Because we need to start afresh with that. So, yeah, maybe what I would do is, while we've got this thing here, now this individual lines, if you wanted to make it all one polyline, for example, we touched on polyline, I think last week, this one here, where if I draw, if I take F8 out, if I draw something like this, it's all one connected entity. See, like that. If I also turn this one into one connected entity, I could join it, and that's under the modify here. If I click the word modify, it gives me more commands. J for join is the short command. It's this one here. If I click join, I could go window, so click, let go of your finger, and click again, and press enter, and then that becomes one. So that could be useful in certain situations. For example, we haven't done the offset command, and that's one we're going to cover separately in a week or so, but that's very important. But you can see what happens here if I go offset now, and don't worry what I'm typing in, but I'll show you what happens if I go offset now. It's a parallel copy. So it just offsets the whole thing, all right? If I just had one line, it would just offset just that one line. And if I was to try and do the whole thing all around, I have to click and offset each one, then join it. So sometimes it's important to have things joined. Sometimes it's a problem. No, because I'm not covering offset. I'm just showing you what happens when you got a polyline and you use the command offset. So I want to not show you today because it's a very important command, and I'd rather just cover it step by step. But I just wanted to show you what that does. In fact, I just typed it in. So we won't do it today, but I'm keeping you in suspense for that one. Hopefully next week. So, but how do we then bring this back to individual lines? Explode, yes. What's the short command for explode? X, what? Which one is it? Make up your mind. X it is. Yeah, it's the only exception actually. That's just X. It's not the first and second, it's just the second. So X. Oh, so you can just click it and then go X, enter, and that individual, yeah. So look what happens if I go offset now, and I just click on here. It's just one line that's been offset. It's a parallel copy, the offset command, okay? Click here and delete it. Click on here and delete it. Now, let's draw a few more shapes. Polyline, it's the same as the line command. Pretty much, it just comes out as one joint entity. Join we've done. Polyline. Oh, but polyline twice. Oh, polyline edit. Sorry. Polyline edit is yeah, okay. If you just wanted to join something, you can just J for join. But within the polyline edit command, which is this one here, edit polyline, or PE for polyline edit, that's the actual command, P edit. You can click on a line, doesn't have to be a polyline, and then it says, okay, look, it's not a polyline. Would you like to turn it into a polyline? And you type Y and enter, just here, or you just press enter, because when you got the Y in the brackets there, it just means it's the default. So you press enter, it'll just accept Y. All right. Now I only made the mistake once of saying N for no, just to see what happens. And at that time, my computer hanged. So really, this is a stupid question. But anyway, because it's always got to be a yes or escape and get out of it. So yes, I would like to do that. So now that's a polyline, the rest of the lines, because that's a polyline now, it's okay, now you've turned that into a polyline. What would you like to do with it? Would you like to join some more things onto it? And no, I'd rather just use join to do that anyway. For example, or you can do join, or I can just change the width of that polyline, which is only just that. What else can I do? I can do a number of other things with it, are very advanced things. Yes? You can change the line type of that. Yeah, you can change it, the line type to, actually it's not the line type, sorry, you can't change the line type. You can change the line type generation, which is something different, it's very advanced. So no, we can't change the line type from here, but we can join it as I said before. So if I go join, I can just do the same thing as before, window, as long as they're touching each other, it'll join it. If there's a gap, it won't join it. So that's the same thing as doing J for join. But if I wanted to do, I could do a fit a curve. What happened to that? Nothing. 17 segments added. Not sure why I didn't do a curve. F for fit. Yeah, there you go. That's what it should look like. I can decurve it back to how it was. I can go spline. Looks like that. So just takes a rough approximation. Decurve. Enter. All right. So anyway, that's advanced stuff. We don't need to worry about that. Mainly, you just want to join stuff. You can change the width of this, but you can go polyline edit, and then go width. If you want to give it some thickness, you have to just think. We'll give it maybe 2 millimeters thick. Makes a fat line basically. 0 if you're going to take it back to normal. W for width. Enter. 0. Enter. So just some little editing tools there. The circle command, this one here. There's a number of options with the circle command. I'm just going to go with the vanilla version, just the first one, which I give it the center point and then the radius. So it's asking me down here, specify the center point. Yeah, I don't know. I'll draw it on the endpoint of that. How big is it going to be? Well, about that big. I don't care. I'll just keep there. What if I did care? I'll have to put a number, right? So if I cared, I'll go there and make it, say, 30. There it is. Well, so now if I click on this thing here and then right click, but not on the grips, because if I right click on the grips, it gives me some other things, I think. Oh no, it doesn't this time. Sometimes it makes you stretch or something. So be careful. I'd rather not click on the grips. I just click somewhere else. Still gives me the same thing here, but in a line, it might gives me other things. If I had a line, for example, and I right click on here, so it still works. Sometimes, for example, here I didn't right click, but it gives me some other option. So I'd rather not hang around there because it might just give me some other option. So just hang around here. So if I go here, right click, and I go properties, which is the second to last option, it brings this thing up, which is where we started off in the morning, in the beginning of the session. So if you can then drag this from the left hand side and put it over here, we can then use AutoCAD a little bit more like, for example, Revit has a properties thing there. We can't do as much as we can do in Revit, but I've got the escape. That's the properties of the view. If I click on here, it gives me the properties of the circle. It just means with some entities I can do things with. I can change the radius of this now to be not 52 point something, but say 50. So I can change it, drive it from the database as such. But if I had a line, for example, someone asked me the question about whether I can change a line. The answer is no. I can change the beginning and end, the beginning X and Y, or the and Z, or the end X, Y, and Z, but I cannot change the length of that line, which is apparently 138.5. So I can't change it. That's because it's driven by the coordinates. So the only way to change is changing the start and end point of it. But some things it's pretty useless for that. Yeah. All right. So that's the properties. We talked about the line and polyline close option, sub option. Circle, arc, rectangle is useful, not useless. So rectangle is here. Sometimes it's hidden behind the polygon, but usually the polygon is behind the rectangle by default. So if I click the rectangle, I can go begin it somewhere, and then the other corner. So I could just draw something like this. That's the rectangle. What can I do with this now? Can I fix it? Can I change the size of it? The length is that, the area is that, XY vertex, start segment width. Oh, that actually refers to how thick the line is. So I can't really change the size of the box. The length is grayed out, 489. The width, did I see that somewhere? It's probably grayed out anyway. So I can't do much about this. So if I wanted a proper size, specified size box, if I go click here, I could go two ways. I can go at, from where I click, give it the X direction. So for example, 80, comma the Y direction, say 60, and enter. That gives me a rectangle of 80 by 60. But there's probably a better way of doing it this way. If I go rectangle, I can start somewhere and then click down here which says dimensions. Right, click dimensions, and it asks you for the length, which is the X. So, or how wide. So just put a number, say 80 wide, and then it goes and asks you for the width. So that's the other direction. Say 60, and there it is. It looks the same as that one, but it hasn't actually placed it. It looks like it has, but it asks you an additional question. Which side do you want to place it? Left, right, from where I click down, across, right? So you just have to click one more time, and it puts it down for you and stays there. Right? If you press escape at that moment beforehand, it'll just disappear. Right? So that's another way of drawing a rectangle. I hate arcs, so I'll have a go at it. All right. So this particular arc I picked up is a 3-point arc. So it looks like if I just go click and then click and click, so that would be maybe, I don't know, that would be useful if you had 3 points to go through. So I've got 1, 2, 3 here, for example. So I could go arc from the endpoint of that. Oh my goodness, what is arc? I lost it. See? No, here, arc. I will go from the endpoint of that to the midpoint of this to the endpoint of that, and it just puts an arc in there like this. Just a 3-point arc. I hate arcs. Anyway, I don't like them. Or you can have a start point, center, and end. So, if I did that one, for example, I could go start. Yeah, I want to start here. Then he wants the center. Where's the center going to be? The center point will be, I don't know, here, say, here. And the end point will be there. Oh, am I right? So I told you, I hate arcs. I don't like arcs. Yeah, anyway, you play around with those. I'm not interested in arcs. Um, yeah, so, yeah, so it's arcs. Where are we? Rectangles, polygons, ellipses, hatch. All right, so that's it. Circle, we've done circle. Circles are also they're better than arcs because you can do a number of things. You can fit a circle between 2 points. So if I had that point and then that point there, it puts a circle in there. You have 3 point. You can have. I can put a circle in here. Tangent, tangent. I think it's called. You can put a circle 10, 10 radius perhaps, or 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, I think. Sure if that'll work. Thank you. No, that didn't work. Anyway, they're almost as good as arcs. Anyhow, the 526 time to go, isn't it? All right. So polygons will cover another time because there's a couple of options there. So we'll leave that there. And what I want you to do, if you haven't done so already, is clean up this mess here. And you can undo back and just leave that shape there. How do you undo back? If you go to the undo here, there's an arrow down. Click it, and then you can see all the mess I've done. Go down to probably guess where you're mucking around. And there you go. Undid a whole lot of stuff. Right, so I'll save this and we'll correct it next time when we learn the stretch lines or something like that. All right, thanks guys. It's been a long one, a good one, but we'll progress from here on. Thank you. You're welcome.